It's Sangsi's fullness. Censor Stumira. As you all know well, Cambodia is now becoming a hotbed of international crime. People are being lured with promises of part-time jobs, paying 10 million won a month, then exploited for international crimes. Cambodia recently said Korea must return Cambodian anti-government figures in Korea if it wants Koreans arrested in Cambodia repatriated. It's a very infuriating situation. Let's take a look at this today. Let's get right to it. Korean crimes in Cambodia persist. On October 13th, police began investigating after a report that 20-year-old Mr. A from Gwangsung-gu, Gwangju, lost contact in Cambodia. It is said that Mr. A lost contact after going to Cambodia. After asking someone to speak up for him, he lost contact. The last place he was reached by phone was Phnom Penh, Cambodia's capital. Police and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are trying to find Mr. A, but his location is still unknown. Recently, Mr. B, a man in his 30s who left for Cambodia, also lost contact right after leaving the country. It is reported that he was threatened through telegram and video calls, being told he had to send 20 million won in order to be able to train. Cambodia is rapidly becoming a hub for international crime. Human trafficking, voice phishing, and online fraud against foreigners are widespread in Cambodia and border areas, making it an international issue, not just between Korea and Cambodia. Right now, the Cambodian government is being accused of turning a blind eye to these crimes and only taking limited action after the fact. Cambodian police are guarding crime zones, so without pressure on the government, this issue likely won't be resolved. There are a lot of crime zones in Cambodia. In June, the international MNST exposed Cambodian crime zones as part of their report on human trafficking in Cambodia, and it was confirmed that there are at least 53 crime zones in Cambodia. Tens of thousands are trapped in these crime zones, facing trafficking, enslavement, and forced labor. These crime zones were mostly casinos, but after Cambodia banned online gambling in 2019 and criminal organizations lost income, they turned former casinos and hotels into crime zones. The facilities were built to confine people, featuring closed-circuit television high walls and barbed wire. As previously noted, many security personnel are protected by Cambodian police and reportedly carry electric batons or firearms. Inside this criminal compound, victims are subjected to ruthless violence, and torture often takes place right away. If they miss their quotas for romance scams or voice phishing, they are beaten. Up to 150,000 people are believed to be held captive here. That's what we know. You might ask why the Cambodian government isn't properly intervening. In fact, the Cambodian government has established something called the National Committee for Counter-Trafficking and claims that it is responding to fraud and human trafficking crimes through this committee. However, nothing has changed, and crimes are actually rising. MNST found that police or military intervened at 20 of 53 facilities checked, but none were shut down. Only 2 facilities were fully closed by government action. In other words, the government claims to have intervened, but they are not actively getting involved. The reason for this is because Cambodia makes about $12.5 billion a year, or half its gross domestic product, from voice phishing and related scams. In fact, the crime industry itself has practically taken on the role of a national and institutional industry. Because of this, the Cambodian government is not responding actively. Additionally, an incident worsened people's anger. Koreans who were arrested or turned themselves in for charges like phishing, human trafficking, or online fraud in Cambodia still haven't been able to return to Korea. But this isn't simply because of slow administrative procedures or complicated criminal charges. Behind this, there is an unbelievable diplomatic threat. The Cambodian government demanded Korea return their anti-government figures, threatening not to send Koreans back otherwise. It's basically a full-blown diplomatic hostage situation. The Korean National Police Agency estimates over 1,000 Koreans are active or captive in Cambodian crime zones. Among them, there are victims who were deceived and taken by criminal organizations, as well as people who directly participated in the crimes. Interpol has issued red notices for up to 265 Koreans, and Cambodian authorities arrested 57 Koreans last month. The Korean government requested their extradition, but Cambodia demanded Butvi Chai, an anti-government figure, be released in return. Butvi Chai is a pro-democracy activist who has long criticized Cambodia's corruption and human rights abuses, and he is currently staying in Korea. He exposed the regime's corruption and criticized Cambodia's human rights issues in the media and to the international community, making him a thorn to the government. They're holding Koreans like hostages, pressuring Korea to send Butvi Chai back before releasing them. This is why it's not just a simple diplomatic issue, but in fact a form of state-level blackmail. The Cambodian Ministry of Interior stated, "We have extradited hundreds of Korean criminals to Korea." They openly said they only want one person, and they declared that they wouldn't send back any Koreans until Butvi Chai is returned. Even more shocking, Cambodian police have reportedly handed over arrested Koreans to criminal groups, where they're trafficked or forced into labor. Recent reports say some police are working with criminal groups, making financial deals, and exchanging arrested people for money. In other words, crimes disguised under the name of the law are actually taking place. Cambodian authorities are acting extremely because the national system is deeply connected to criminal organizations. Government, police, criminal groups, and some political forces are united, using foreign criminals as leverage. In this situation, the Cambodian government is using a dual strategy, pressuring South Korea through the extradition of criminals, while at the same time trying to eliminate political opposition within their own country. In the international community, this kind of action is called state-level hostage diplomacy. The South Korean government is also strongly protesting, but Cambodia is not backing down at all. This raises serious concerns about the safety of South Koreans detained in Cambodia. Some victims' families say they contacted Cambodian police but got no response, and some were threatened their loved ones would only be released if they paid money. Cambodia is experiencing a human rights violation disguised as diplomacy and politics. The families of the victims are spending each day in fear, and the government is also making every effort through diplomatic pressure and gathering information. But the situation is not improving easily. It seems that international pressure and response are needed so that Cambodia can no longer continue these threats. Cambodian criminal organizations did not initially target our citizens. At first, they committed human trafficking against countries like Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam, which are source countries for people. As it grew, it expanded to East Asian countries like Korea and Japan. Right now, the number of reported cases of Koreans being kidnapped and trafficked is gradually coming to light. Cases jumped from 1 in 2022 to 17 in 2023, 20 in 2024, and 330 by August 2025. Among these, there have also been a number of cases where people have died. With the situation so serious, the government feels it can no longer just do nothing. President Lee Jae-myung addressed the crimes against Koreans in Cambodia and ordered full diplomatic action. At the same time, the government has decided to strengthen diplomatic and judicial cooperation and to review the entire system for protecting overseas citizens. President Lee Jae-myung instructed to mobilize all diplomatic resources to secure cooperation from the Cambodian government. The government is reviewing how crime enters the country via the Ministry of Justice and National Police Agency, and is also considering increasing staff and budget for the embassy in Cambodia. Diplomatic pressure is being applied. On July 10th, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned Cambodia's ambassador to Korea. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs voiced concern over ongoing employment, fraud, and confinement cases involving our citizens in Cambodia, and called for action to prevent further loss of life. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has also raised the travel advisory for certain areas, including Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia, to a special travel warning, and is recommending that people cancel or postpone their visits unless it is for urgent business. They also urge citizens in those areas to prioritize their safety. The reason why so many international crimes have occurred in Cambodia is because the casino industry has grown since the 1990s and 2000s. After gambling was banned in mainland China, Chinese criminal groups heavily invested in casinos and hotels across Southeast Asia, including Cambodia. Since the 2010s, China has given Cambodia major support via the Belt and Road Initiative. Chinese capital and people began flowing in. A significant number of criminal organizations also came in, and in order to maximize their profits, they created so-called crime compounds and started committing crimes targeting foreigners. These criminal organizations are linked to powerful Cambodian politicians, tycoons, Chinese Cambodian real estate groups, and owners who run crime compounds. As a result, law enforcement often colludes with them instead of cracking down. This is a time for increased international cooperation and pressure on Cambodia. We must also respond more firmly. If we don't act, victims will keep increasing as crime in Cambodia continues endlessly. What do you think about the current situation? Please let us know in the comments. That concludes this video. Thank you.